Welcome to Unshakable with Human Design, the show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs use human design to shift from hustle to flow without sacrificing results. Come here to become an unshakable human and build an unshakable business according to your human design. I'm your host, Nicole. Hello and welcome to Unshakable with Human Design, everybody. I'm your host, Nicole, and today I want to have kind of a free-flowing conversation in here. So this was a conversation, this is all the inspiration for this, came from a conversation that actually started inside my Business by Design mentorship, inside our Telegram chat, actually. All of our clients in there are contemplating their designs, and we're working together for them to embody it and understand what these things mean and really understand it on a soul level. So there's always a conversation going on in there about, what people are reflecting on about their specific gates, the different things that are coming up for them. And this conversation started around gate 6. And there are a lot of people in our program who have gate 6. Now, that's also my personality north node. So I have that. I also have the 59-6 channel. So we had a pretty lengthy, in-depth, and really beautiful conversation about this. And given the state of the world, I think we're seeing gate 6 play out in front of us. And it's also right now our south node, what the south node is in at this current moment. And then in March, on March 12th, I believe, that will actually be the Earth gate, because the sun will be in gate 36, which is gate 6's polarity. So this energy is going to be around us. It's going to be in the south node for until June. So we've got this energy around us. And I wanted to talk about how you can see that. And whenever we have nodes, this is the stuff that we see kicking up. This is the stuff that we see out in the world. The nodes are our world and how we view it and what we see happening and the things that are playing out for us. It's what collectively we're all going through. So I wanted to have this discussion here. I kind of wanted to bring it up here and put this out, because while I don't get political on this show, I've really tried to stay away from having political discussions or sharing my political views, because I believe that we all have a right to our own views. And I don't want to be part of the negativity that I see, which is telling people that they are wrong, fighting over this stuff, which I actually think is at the heart of what Gate 6 teaches us. Gate 6 is the diplomat. And because this is a strong energy in my chart, I'm going to go through some of my reflections on this gate and how I see it playing out in the world. Because like I said, while I don't want to be political, that doesn't mean that we are blind or indifferent to the things going on in the world right now and always. I don't believe in toxic positivity. I don't believe in spiritual greenwashing. I don't believe, I don't believe in any of that stuff. And I don't want to be a part of it either by staying silent when I see things out in this world and we are facing things energetically. So there's stuff that plays out in the world, but then the part that I feel I can chime in on is my own reflections on human behavior, which I have been deeply ingrained in and working with for, over a decade now. My acting career very much about human behavior, but what I've been doing now inside my business has been 9 years of working in that field, and then also just being obsessed with it for most of my life. But I also want to recognize that my conscious sun and my incarnation cross definitely have a lot to do with illuminating a path for what is good for all people. It has to do with saying what you believe and not being afraid to educate, to say the things that you think people need to hear, and saying it with conviction, but doing it from a clean place of integrity, not to sway people just to your way of thinking, but to put good things out in the world and hope that whatever is meant to be received from that is received. So that's the inspiration for this episode. It's a little bit different than what we normally do. I don't have like a big script or anything. I don't have an agenda. I really just want to talk about what this gate means. And I want you, as you're listening to this, what are your reflections on this? How are you seeing this out in your world, in the world? And, I am going to give some opinions on what I think, because I'll do my best to not make that, again, to come at it from the place that Gate 6 calls us to come from, which is a place of not malice, not my own emotional needs or triggering, but from a place of truth, in the hopes that we can all have a better future as a species. That's really what it's about. Before I get going, I do want to say we are running my Authority Accelerator Masterclass. This is our 5-day masterclass. It's totally free on how you build a business, a profitable business, and become an aligned CEO according to your human design. How do you actually make a human design focused business work? How do you blend strategy and energy so that you are aligned, regulated, expanding so you can call in more, be aligned with your purpose, but then also make money and do it in a way that doesn't feel like it's burning you out or sucking your soul? And that's what this whole thing is about. So we will be teaching that. That's going to kick off on March 3rd. If you want to be a part of that, please join us. This is totally free. It is the most amazing thing that I put on besides this podcast. We start on March 3rd. All you have to do to register is go to NicoleLano.com/masterclass. You can register right there, or you could DM me the word masterclass on Instagram and we will register you right there in the DMs like magic. Okay? So without further ado, let's talk about Gate 6. Gate 6's need for understanding things through that path. You might be looking at things through this relationship standpoint that I learned a lot through romantic relationships and close relationships that were most of my life lessons, and trauma came from that. Now, one of the lessons, if you have the 59.6 channel, that people like me would preach to you is that the only way you'll get the right lesson or the right thing for what's right for your next level is if you wait and you make the decision to go into the next level with somebody, to engage with them in that way. If you wait out your emotional wave, if you don't make an emotional decision right there. And think about how hard that is to do. You get emotions all cranked up and then you say, I gotta wait, It's a lesson to be learned. Now I want you to think about that beyond the sexual and just think about who you allow into your world, what you allow into your world, who's communicating to you, and what energy are you taking in? And is it good for the future of the species? Is it good for the future of us? You, me, everybody around you. Are you making that decision from an unemotional or emotionally clean place? Is another question. So think about the information that you receive, the transmissions you're receiving right now through the news, through social media, through all of the ways that we are inundated with information. Think about the messengers who are delivering this message to you. Now, I will say this, I'm going to get political for 1 second, and I will say Donald Trump has this channel. He also has another master channel for speaking to the world. He has the 4521. Now, these are two very, very strong energies he has an amazingly strong chart when it comes to speaking to groups. It isn't about the words, it's about the emotional current that he conveys when he is speaking. And what he's able to do is be heard on another level. He has a lot of sway emotionally and energetically with people. Now, I am not going to talk about my own personal views on Donald Trump because I don't want this episode to turn into this. But I will also say this is his unconscious earth gate. So he's energetically very equipped to deliver things strongly to a large group of people, to control a large group of people. Now, I'm going to go back to some of the conversations we've had here on this show about the cross of the sleeping phoenix and the change that's coming in 2027 and the changes that are coming to this world. And we've talked about this, that the energetic shifts and how we're feeling them right now, how we are starting to feel these shifts. And we all know that Pluto has shifted into Aquarius as of, the end of last year. And so we have these world changes coming on, energetic world changes, where we're being called to a higher, different frequency. Now, we've talked about how the cross of the sleeping phoenix will break the bonds that we have been so used to unconsciously receiving. When the 3740 channel goes away from the background frequency that we're all under, when we're not under its influence energetically anymore, we're not going to feel like bargains maybe necessarily can be trusted. The relationships between companies, governments, and us as individuals is necessarily being held up, or that we trust that these relationships are beneficial or beneficial for us. And when 3740 goes away, I'm not a doomsdayer about this stuff, but I think that we are starting to see what these changes are taking shape as. And I want to be very clear that it is so important right now that with that background frequency going away, that we're suddenly going to be making decisions that are right for us and not necessarily right for all of us. And we're starting to see that now. I want this thing and I don't care about their thing. And maybe there's nothing that we can do about that. Maybe that's just the time that we're coming into, the rise of the individual that says, I want my freedom, I want my power, I want it all for myself. And maybe stepping up into that. But how important it is for us to make decisions that are true to us and not get caught up in the hijacking of this new energy. That when people say bad things, when people say things that emotionally trigger you, that you wait, that you process those emotions, and that you don't have them hijacked for somebody else's agenda. When Ra talked about how important it was going to be after 2027 for you to make decisions for yourself, what I'm coming to believe and what I'm coming to understand is that what he meant by that, and whether he knew he meant this or not, I don't know. But the way that I am processing that right now is the reason it's so important for you to make decisions for yourself. It's because we're not going to be making decisions based on the good for all anymore. And what happens when somebody comes in with strong energy and starts to deliver a message that triggers you on purpose and pushes you into your not self? Because Ra always said, you sell to the not self. You sell to the anger. You sell to the unprocessed emotions. You sell to the person who feels like they have been forgotten. You sell to the person who feels like they are invisible, and you sell them who to blame. And you sell them the solution that you can fix that. It's so important to make decisions that are in alignment with who you are and your values and what you truly want. And not to allow somebody to ride this new energy in the direction of their choosing that you really don't have any part of. He did it, and he said it. Ra said this to get everybody following their strategy and authority, to get them deconditioning so they weren't so triggered and so they weren't so not self that they didn't know it was happening. He said all of this stuff so that you could be sovereign beings, so that we could feel empowered to make our own decisions. And we weren't being led unknowingly anywhere. So let me come back to gate 6. Gate 6 is the gate of conflict. And the gift, so the shadow frequency is conflict. The gift is diplomacy. And the city is peace. So what it says is that conflict to peace follows through the path of diplomacy. How do we get from conflict to peace? And how do we do that? We go through the path of diplomacy. So what does diplomacy mean to you? This is how I start to work through this stuff with my clients. What does diplomacy mean to you? How do you see it in your life? What's been your experience with it? Now, to me, when I look at gate 6 and I look at diplomacy and I look at conflict, the shadow of this is conflict for conflict's sake. Sowing conflict through emotional triggering to control things, to control people, or to win on your own emotional level. It's to hurt without thinking. It's to hurt maybe for fun. It's a low frequency to the gate of conflict. Now, I have my own experience with conflict. There were lots of conflicts in my life growing up. And I mean, I thankfully don't have lots of them now, but can't ever say that we don't have conflict. I see it a lot more out in the world now. And I'm proud to say that I can hold the diplomatic space a lot better. But it was always an exercise for me. It is funny. That is something that you notice when you start to do this work. You start to notice, oh yeah, I've seen how I've been working with this energy my whole life. And when we master it, that is when we can start to really use it in a way that draws good things to us instead of bad things to us, instead of lessons to us. I had a lot of lessons to learn with this one. So if you have gate 6 in your chart, then this is a lesson for you too. So gate 6 in the shadow frequency sows conflict. It relishes in it. It benefits from it. And it has no interest in resolving it in any way other than to say, I win all the time. And if I don't win, I'm going to start more conflict until I do win. And I don't care who gets hurt. That's the shadow of gate 6. And I want you to look around in the world and see if you see that anywhere. I want you to look around the world. I want you to look at yourself and say, am I sowing that somewhere? And that's not to be critical of yourself and beat yourself up. It's to be curious about it. Because I know everybody who listens to this show, you are trying to lift yourself into a new level of consciousness. You are trying to step into a new level of self. So we have to be able to look critically at ourselves with curiosity. And when I say critically, I mean with a discerning eye, an open heart, but without criticism of ourselves. But we cannot fix a problem. We cannot rise until we recognize that there is a problem. That then and only then can the problem be solved. So where have you contributed to conflict? And then here's how you start to work with this diplomacy. Diplomacy to me is no one can win 100% in an argument. There's no 100% winner. And if you are trying to be the 100% winner, then you are in the shadow of conflict. If you just think everybody is wrong. It's the ability to be able to hold both spaces. To be able to hold, as one of my clients was saying in our discussion, all of the emotions that are involved and not entwine your own emotions with it. To be neutral. This is the work we do in my program with EFT. It's about deactivating the triggers so you are emotionally clean and processing your emotions separately. This, for everybody who has an open emotional center, this is work you will most likely need to do, is cleaning out your emotional center. Because most people who have an open solar plexus are storing old emotions because they haven't wanted to deal with them. And then you are easily triggered and sensitive. So the emotional work is so important to you for that reason. my emotional authorities. It is important for you because you're riding that wave all the time. If you have circumstantial emotions that are piling up that you are not dealing with, and then the waves come, and you're at a really difficult point of your wave, that's when it just all pours over and it feels so overwhelming that you can't handle it. And it's just so much, and the anxiety and the overwhelm and everything just sends you in all sorts of directions. So that's why this work is important for you. Because we don't want to be part of the shadow frequency, contributing that to the field, contributing that to the collective and to the people around us. We don't want to do that. We want to be part of the solution. And I think right now we can feel pretty helpless, like we can't do anything. There are actions that you can take, just like I always say, there's strategy and energy to everything. There's actions you can take, and you can ask yourself, what can I do to make this better today? What action can I take to make this just a little bit better today and do my part? But then energetically, the part that we can all do is don't contribute to the garbage. Be a force for good. And in the space of diplomacy, in the space of Gate 6 and conflict, if you want peace, diplomacy is the way. It is to say that harm to you is harm to me. That when you lose, I lose too. That we cannot all win all the time. That there has to be compromise. And sometimes hard conversations, emotional conversations, not sometimes all the time, are necessary in order for peace to be achieved. So we have to be willing to put our own personal emotions aside and not stuffing them away in a closet like we'll deal with them later, because that often never happens. But to process our emotions. And if you're interested in how we process emotions with EFT, we have a mini deconditioning bundle. Just DM me the word tapping on Instagram and I'll send you the link for that. But this is how we deactivate triggers. If you want to be emotionally clean, if you want to change your life, truly, tapping is the way. It is the thing that everybody comes to me for human design. They come to me for business strategy. They come to me for the podcasting and all of that stuff. But the thing that moves the needle the most is because I force them to do the tapping and I make them do that, and it changes their lives. Literally, it is the secret. If you have been deconditioning for a long time, you don't have to do it with me, but please do it. Although I do it differently. I think I do it better. So many people say, I've done tapping before, but it never really worked for me. And then your tappings are completely different. They are. But please do it. Because if you've been deconditioning for a while, if you've been stuck in your head trying to figure things out, but you haven't started to see the results and how you actually change, it's because you haven't really deconditioned on a deep enough level. And that's what tools like breath work and EFT do. They help you get to that deeper level that pretty much most of us who have lived imperfect lives have to get to that deeper level because we've stored so much of it in our bodies and in our nervous system. But you have to be willing to come to the argument with clean, unemotional, and good for all energy. That we want everybody to win. And I think where we're going with the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix, the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix has gate 55 in this. Gate 59 and gate 55 are a polarity. They are two of the gates that make up the 4 gates of the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix that we are going to be moving into in 2027. This is going to be our frequency. And gate 55 calls us to a higher level of spirit. It says that abundance is possible for all of us. But only, an abundance is an emotional thing. And only through, what's gate 59? Intimacy. What does it mean to be intimate? What does it mean to have connection? Connection with self, connection with others. These themes can really teach us about how we are being called to grow and what is going to be asked of us in this next incarnation of this life. in this next level, this new place of consciousness that we are stewards of. And that does not mean that everybody who acts in this place is in alignment. Most of the world is not self. And I encourage you to decondition yourself, make decisions as yourself, follow your strategy and authority, be grounded in your own power, and notice who is trying to guide you from their not self. And do everything that you can to diffuse that. And how can you do that? You can speak from a place of diplomacy with the people who disagree with you. And I know that's hard. But if you want to be a force for good, I believe that this is going to be at the heart of it. Because like I said, Gate 59 in the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix, this is its harmonic partner. This is Gate 6, is the other end of the channel of 59. It's playing a role. Gate 55 is under the mutation. It's going to, then we're getting into some really deep things about human design here. But there's a change for humanity. And not only do we want to be on the right side of history, but if we care about this world and we care about where we're going, and if it hurts right now, don't feel helpless. It starts with clean conversations that don't allow your emotions to get entangled where it seems like it's coming from a selfish place. And do your best. We're not perfect and we're working toward it. But I do think that we have to have better conversations right now. And this is my start of trying to do my part to open you up to this different way. Because I know that maybe you disagree with some things that are happening right now, or you agree with some things and you disagree with others. We get to hold space for both of those things. And just because you want one thing doesn't mean you don't speak up for the things that are horribly wrong right now. There is space for both. There is space to feel that Jewish people have a right to exist and to protect themselves. But there's also space for feeling like what is happening in Palestine and the Gaza Strip is terrible. And it cannot go on like this. These things both exist. And I think that most people, if you detach your own personal trauma from the argument, can see that. Harm to one is harm to all. And if we can come from that place, then maybe individuals can change things. Maybe that's where we're going, where it isn't these big institutions that run everything and the individuals are powerless. We're about to take over again, maybe. Maybe it is the rise of the individual where our voices are stronger. Make sure your voice is really yours. Because what conditioning is pulling in someone else's stuff and parroting it back as if it's your own, but completely unconscious to yourself. Make sure your words are yours. Make sure your emotions are yours. Make sure your actions are yours. And lead from a place of integrity. Lead yourself from a place of integrity. And I hope this show helps you do that. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'd love to know what you thought about it because it's something different that we've done here. So curious what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts on Gate 6 on the 59.6 channel? I'd love to hear all of it. Please feel free to DM me on Instagram. Again, I will hold space for whatever you have to share. Thank you for being here. If you want to get involved in the Authority Accelerator Masterclass that I'll be starting on March 3rd, please DM me the word Masterclass on Instagram. I'm at Nicole Laino Official, or go to NicoleLaino.com/masterclass, and you can register right there on the website. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode with me. And I just want to say, as I always do, in order to have an unshakable business, you must first become an unshakable human. So thanks for letting us help you become unshakable with human design, everybody. We'll see you next time. If you love this episode and you're a fan of the show, please show us the love on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the show and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with other entrepreneurs on their human design journey, join our free Facebook community, Human Design for Entrepreneurs. Go to nicolelano.me/podcast links to join the group, book a human design reading with me, or access our free human design resources. We'll see you there.